Hi everyone, welcome to Exact Accounting's video on QBCC annual reporting. My name is Dylan Eve and I'm a client director here in the compliance division of Exact Accounting. So the whole first step of why QBCC looks at your annual reporting is they're trying to determine your financial health and stability of all licensed individuals and entities throughout Queensland. And the reason why they're trying to do this is they want to make sure that everyone who uses you, whether that be mum and dads looking to build a home or the subbies who are employed by you, are protected by anyone sort of doing the wrong thing. So there's two main tests that the QBCC are looking for, and that is your current ratio is sufficient to meet all current payable amounts within 12 months, and that you have sufficient net tangible assets for the amount of revenue that you're generating at the moment. So let's jump straight into the license classes. So as I mentioned, must have at least $1 in current assets for every $1 in current liabilities. That is, if I owe trade contractors 50,000, the ATO 30,000, that's 80,000 current liabilities. Then I need to have at least 80,000 in cash, accounts receivable, or work in progress in order to cover those amounts due. So that is the first test that QBCC look to check. The next test is your net tangible assets, and this one will be determined by your maximum revenue class. So we'll talk firstly about our self-certifying 1 and 2 categories, which is licensed up to 800,000, before we'll jump into our categories 1 to category 3, which is any revenue from 800,000 to 30 million. Now, keep in mind, this is your total revenue or your turnover. It's not the profit or bottom line of the business. So for our self-certifying 1 and self-certifying 2 annual reporting requirements, firstly, the QBCC will want you to lodge your revenue and expenses for the period ending 30th of June, as well as your assets and liabilities as at that date, so 30th of June. And these ones are not due until 31st March the following year. So for example, our 30th of June 2024 figures are not due to be lodged with QBCC until the 31st of March 2025. Now, that is not your figures up to that date, which is a pretty common misconception. And these ones have to be lodged either through your MyQBCC portal by yourself or your accountant or via paper. The next up would be our category 1s to category 3 license holders. And the what needs to be lodged with QBCC. We have to declare a profit and loss statement as at 30th of June, a balance sheet which shows your assets and liabilities as well, and your aged debtors and creditors report, as well as a statement of cash flows. Now, these are generally going to be accountant prepared, however, they can be managed internal accounts used. These ones are due to be lodged with QBCC by the 31st of December. However, they're still based on the most recent financial year. So for 30th of June, 2024, these license categories have to be submitted by the 31st of December. And now anything above category 1 must be submitted through your QBCC portal, either by yourself or through your accountant. There is categories 4 to 7, which is any revenue above 30 million. However, these reports need to be prepared by an accountant and they must be in general purpose financial statements format, which is quite complex, so we won't delve too much in those ones here. So important to note about annual reporting. Firstly, you must know what your maximum revenue is and your associated net tangible assets before you lodge your return. It's also another misconception that even though an individual might hold a category 1 license, they might actually be pegged at, say, $1 million of maximum revenue, which would have a net tangible assets of closer to that $50,000 mark. So whilst they might be category 1, it doesn't necessarily mean you'll be able to go up to the full $3 million without QBCC having an issue with that. So it's really critical to make sure you actually know what your maximum revenue is that you're licensed to. Now, you can go over your maximum revenue by 10%, and your net tangible assets can drop by no more than 30% before QBCC will look to do any regulatory action on you. And lastly, it's pretty important, along with those 2 points, to consult with your accountant prior to lodging. There's nothing worse than a category 2 had a great year, 2.5 million when they're licensed to 1, and they lodge their figures in the last week of December. They go away for Christmas thinking, yep, great year. And they come back to having an MFR audit, which is effectively 21 days, and before you're suspended with QBCC. So you'd have 21 days to lodge an MFR report that shows why you've breached that revenue and that you hold your required net tangible assets. So, speaking of what to do if you're not meeting minimum financial requirements. So, firstly, work with a specialized accountant to formulate a strategy to get from non complying at point A to complying at point B. Now, that could be as simple as making sure that the figures are actually lodged correctly or putting in business strategies in place to ensure that our WIP management, our job management is actually where it needs to be. We're operating our business according to industry standards. So then we would prepare a minimum financial requirements report, would need to be prepared and lodged with QBCC to show that if we've breached our revenue, we now hold our higher net tangible assets. And lastly, it's better to be proactive for QBCC rather than sit back and wait for those MFR audits because they can be very stressful as their timelines are pretty small. They'll give you 21 days before going to a proposed suspension notice. So they can be quite severe. So lastly, if you need any help, Master Builders has their helpline and they're extremely good on any licensing requirements when it comes to your classes. And we couldn't recommend Master Builders enough. However, if you need or are interested in a free QBCC health check, so that's around your current ratio, your net tangible assets, or when or what you have to lodge with QBCC, feel free to reach out to Exact Accounting. So myself included, we offer a free QBCC health check to all Master Builders members. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening.